helps everybody. Hopefully we're better now. It wasn't working on the phone, and maybe now it will. I mean, it wasn't working on the computer, and maybe now it will work on the phone. So sorry about that. I don't know what's going on with my sound on there. And if anybody wants to join me here, I'm grateful that you try so many times. Uh-oh, not gonna show the dirty kitchen look in the background. So anyway, I'll wait for people to get on. If they do, no expectations, people. I'm the one messing up all over the place here. Is the sound better now? Sorry about that. I don't know what the hell, like this this plug under my microphone here seems to come out and then the whole thing won't work again. So anyway, let me get back to this. To this theme of naivete. It's them Thetans, that's right. Thanks, Chichgana, for helping moderate my ineptitudes. So anyway, in my work helping people strategize how to deal with powerful people, people that can set you back if you don't handle it right. A lot of times it's about, what is the position that you're coming from? When you want to deal with a certain person, you have to everybody's always coming from a position. And it's just like everybody always has a philosophy. Even if you don't know what it is, you have a philosophy. And so if you don't know what your philosophy is, you're running on default mechanism, default mode. But if you do have a philosophy, then you can work on your philosophy, you can test it, you can improve it, hopefully. And but that requires knowing what it is, right? So when you deal with the corruption of the system, as anybody can tell who's been watching my channel a lot, the place that I come from towards Scientology, police, and political corruption is kind of an idealized place of where it should be. It's like, what would the ideal be? And so when you're jaded, you're kind of like, you don't have room to think of the ideal because you're just like, yeah, we all want pie in the sky, but that's not reality. Okay. Well, that's not reality just because we have created a shitty reality. We could create heaven on earth, and creating heaven on earth is just all about everybody not being an asshole and everybody respecting everybody else to live the way they want to live. And groups that seek power and control are not going to allow heaven on earth because there's no percentage in heaven on earth for these people. They can't make money off of human misery, and then they don't know what else to do. So we can either say, I know what you're doing, and I'm jaded and I'm smart and I know the deal and whatever. And that has a place. But what I'm saying is the naive approach, which isn't as naive as it sounds, but the naive approach is I was wondering what Chichigana like. Oh yeah, right. It's the heaven is a place on earth. Exactly right. I didn't get it. That was the sound lyrics at first. Um, so song lyrics. So anyway, it's all. My belief is that we are in a period of awakening. And when you are in a period of awakening, spiritual awakening, consciousness awakening, whatever, when you are in that mode, then what happens is the first thing that everybody notices, sorry if I get all metaphysical on your ass, but the first thing that everybody notices is all the shit. Okay? That's the way awakenings work. Most people think, oh, a big awakening is just like Shangri La and everybody's happy and it's beautiful. No, you have to go through the twilight stage. You have to go through um, slowly seeing what's up. It's like if it's dark at night, it doesn't just become noon in 1 second. Like there's a slow revealing. Um, how would I coin this jaded aspect? Well, I would just say I don't know. I don't know how I'd coin it. I'm open to suggestions. I'm more like let's be naive. Let's be, hey, I expect the police to protect First Amendment protesters. Okay? I don't expect police to be biased against them. So what the hell? And there should be outrage. But see, the politicians are jaded, the cops are jaded, the Scientologists are jaded, and the public feels empowered by being jaded and cynical and thinking like I know how it all works and it's all bullshit, right? Just like if you look at like election coverage or whatever, a lot of times the election coverage talks about, hey Tim, it talks about the election in a way like, oh, we're the big election strategists, right? Like, okay, we got to vote for this person to block this person. How about no? I want to vote for somebody that stands for what I stand for. I don't want to vote for somebody to triangulate or whatever. Like, for example, um, if, like, I'm not going to vote for Biden or Trump. I'm not going to vote for either of them, even though the next president, 95% likely, barring a death or something, will be Biden or Trump. And then it's like, oh, well, if you don't vote for Biden, you're voting for Trump. Or you don't vote for Trump, you're voting for Biden. Uh-uh. I'm going to vote for somebody who stands for the closest to what I stand for, whatever the hell that is, and whoever is still standing on election day. And if nobody is really standing for what I stand for, I'm going to vote for the closest third party type of thing that supports that, fits along with me, which would probably be some like Green Party or whatever. Um, but I'm not going to go for this false choice of like, I have to do this or that. I'm going to do the naive thing. The jaded thing is like, well, I have to vote for one of the people and otherwise I'm voting for the other one. Okay, that's just me. I'm not saying that should be you. But what I'm saying is if everybody voted for who they really wanted, and refused to vote for people they didn't want, then the political establishment wouldn't be putting these corpses in front of us and saying, pick corpse A or corpse B, pick demented A or demented B, senile A, senile B, Alzheimer's A, Alzheimer's B. Um, I don't want to vote for a damn corpse. If you give me corpses, I'm not voting for them. I'll vote for Joe Schmo, the guy with no chance of winning 3 votes elsewhere. Because I want you to give me somebody I want to vote for. I don't want you to give me somebody out of your political machine who's been trying to be president since 1982. I don't give a shit if they want to be president since 1982. That's not my problem. Okay, so I think with the cops and Scientology, my approach is more like, why would you choose Scientology? Why would you do that? Can you please illuminate me? I mean, doesn't Scientology look really goofy and evil to you? Why would you choose to be a supporter of that? Like, hey, I'm not messing with you. I'm not attacking you. I'm truly asking, walk me through your process, cop. Walk me through your mental process in how you choose Scientology over the protesters, how you do false arrests against Scientology protesters. Yeah, exactly. Explain it like I'm 5. Okay, let's pretend I'm really stupid. We already know I'm naive. Okay, explain to me. Yeah, I know money talks. That's the jaded part. I'm asking for the naive part, right? Money talks, absolutely. We know that, right? But what I'm saying is like, if we come from the jaded, okay, money talks, who's paying you, whatever, that's not going to get through to them. That's not going to make them feel guilty. That's not going to shame them into doing. Thank you, Chichikana. Yeah, that's what I'm into, is the breaking it down philosophically and. So if the cop hears like, you like Scientology? Why would you like that? I mean, they're a cult, right? They traffic the children for slave labor, right? You don't know that? Well, here's some information for you, right? Do you realize the whole world is looking at you as a supporter of human trafficking and gooberized cult membership? Do you realize that, Mr. Officer? Doesn't that make you ashamed? Don't your friends kind of mess with you and say, oh, hey, here comes Mr. Scientology supporter? Isn't that embarrassing in your life to be in the LAPD, which is known for helping Scientology? I mean, do you know what this looks like to the rest of the world, Mr. Police Officer? Do you care? And then we can get into the like, okay, well, are they paying? No, they don't care. I agree. But I think there's a place in every human because I believe in the soul. Maybe not the Thetan, because Thetan rhymes with Satan. So, looks like they're leading you in a wrong direction. Why don't we just stick with soul? Okay. I believe in souls. I believe in reincarnation. I have experience with these things. I'm not asking any of you to believe in any of that at all, right? I don't care who believes what. I think belief is highly overrated anyway. I think it's just like picking one. if you haven't seen it up close, in whatever way, you know, no, Master Thetan. That's a high crime in the Sea Org, mastering your Thetan. Uh, hello, external affairs. So, if the police are hit with a little thing of like, why are you into this thing? It's almost like, if you had a friend that got into some, oh, I dress up, as a wizard and go to Renaissance fairs. Okay, awesome. Um, what gets you into the Renaissance fair vibe? What's the attraction? I don't get it. Right? Same kind of question. Like, hey, it kind of looks like a little goofy thing to me, but I'm curious. What's the attraction? What's the thing? Maybe it's that past life in the Renaissance. Who knows? Maybe it's all those young ladies in those certain Renaissance kind of dresses. Maybe there's a lot of action after the fair every night. Who knows, right? I would like to know, right? Um, yeah, it is like goons and thugs at the LAPD. But deep down in those goons and those thugs is a little boy who felt bullied one day and dreamed of having superpowers and the ability to kick everybody's ass. Deep down in the heart of all oppressors is a scared little kid dreaming of superpowers. Why do you think all the Marvel movies are so huge? And so, what we got to do is we got to get those cops off of their illusion of grandeur back into superpower mode. Like, hey, Superman is not going to be fighting for Scientology, people. You want to be the superhero guy, you don't fight for the arch villain. Get it? Okay. So let's make a heartfelt appeal to these people. So my approach is not, and I don't criticize the approach of Streets or anybody else. I just say it's not my lane. That's all. It's not my avenue. It's not a criticism in any way. It's just like my approach is not to say, hey, you're a dirty cop, even though it is a dirty cop. I mean, Streets has balls of steel and he's absolutely correct, right? No argument, right? Um, but, well, they're all on the same page because they're all in a hierarchy. And it's not like they're being told at the meeting like we love Scientology. We did. Cops always hate protesters. I mean, 99% of the time. Unless you're protesting some crazy ass thing that all the cops like. But even then, cops don't like protesters. Cops love beating the shit out of protesters. I've seen it. I was at a protest in New York. It was like college students, like grad students protesting increasing tuition. These cops were on horses acting like, I can't wait to kick somebody's ass. I'm like, nobody's messing with you. We're doing a legal protest. Nobody's attacking cops. Why are you so eager to be evil? All you need to do is protect the protesters. Right. They are trained to mess with protesters, to stand up against them, to beat them up, to hit them with their batons, billy clubs, whatever. And they get a little thrill off of that. Now, the jaded approach could be that's what they do, and I know their deal, and they're evil and fucked up. Okay, not arguing with that. But on the other hand, I think it's better to say to them, hey man, are you against the First Amendment? Why are you so eager? Why is this a good thing to attack protesters? Like, don't you see how that is corrosive to democracy? Okay. And when I say naive, it's not about actually being naive or being dumb or any of that. It's about going through that approach, through the approach of the ideal. Our ideal in America, which we've never reached, is freedom of expression and a certain level of equality that's absolutely never been reached. But we have these ideals. And when cops are allowed to beat up protesters without people kind of going crazy about it, then that jaded approach of like, yeah, that's what the cops always do. I know the deal. It doesn't help anything because it just solidifies the status quo. Okay. So when we keep asking the question, why would you want to beat up a protester if you are an American police officer supposedly upholding the Constitution? And the First Amendment is freedom of speech, freedom of expression. It's really important to us here. Why would you do that? What's in it for you? Like, walk me through it. Hey, Fluffer Squirrel. Thanks for changing my handle on there. I really appreciate your responsiveness. Um, so, when we come from the naive approach, we can actually, I think, guilt them into acting better. Because what we are saying from the naive approach is, I really expect you to do what you're supposed to do. And I don't understand why you would not do that. And I think that exposes the evil far better than, good point, external affairs. Um, it exposes the evil better because you're just like, it's like, let's say you're a little sweet little kid and daddy is hitting you. You could either say, I hate you, daddy, you're mean, you're. But if you look at daddy and you say, don't you love me? Why would you hit me? I don't understand. You're my daddy, right? Daddy might start melting. It might bring up all his childhood abuse that he got from his parents. He might start crying. He might start apologizing. He's not going to do it when you're like, you're a bad daddy, right? Now, I'm not blaming the kid, whichever avenue they take, right? But if the kid just looks with vulnerable, open eyes, why would you do this to me, Daddy? Now, Daddy might be evil as hell and beat you up more for asking the question. But even that would expose the evil more. And so, this is what I mean by the naive approach. The naive approach is, I expect you to live up to the I expect you to live up to the expectations of the basis of America, which, like I said in another video, it's very naive. If you would go to Devil Advocate, wearing costumes and shouting obscenities really helpful. To some people, it is. That's not what I'm advocating in this video, right? I'm not saying it's really helpful to do any of those things to wear, okay, I'm wearing a costume, right? Um, hey, Magnus, did you get my email? So anyway, I might shout an obscenity, but it's not like it's in context. I might say, "What's this stupid bullshit?" Whatever. I'm not anti-obscenity. I love obscenities. I lived in New York for 3 decades. Okay, that's like it's part of the basic grammar. And It's funny when you're from New York and then you go, like, especially to the South, the Midwest, or whatever, and then you're talking, and oh, thanks, Magnus. So yeah, it's I didn't see the email before when I checked last, but I look forward to reading it. Anyway, um, no, obscenities are great, but and I don't begrudge other people's approaches. Okay, I love DOA. I love that guy. Okay, he is in many ways the opposite. Takes the opposite approach to me. I don't see a contradiction. I don't see a problem. I don't need to straighten him out on anything. I don't need to be straightened out by him on anything. Like, we can each have our own lanes. We're all headed in the same direction. But I like to kind of present the philosophical underpinnings and the strategy. And right, different people respond to different thing. Um, I didn't even know if he was talking about DOA, but I wasn't even linking it actually. But yeah, that would be actually one of the best guesses when, especially with the costume. I mean, I love the king robe thing. That is just the coolest shit. The first time I saw him, people. Well, the first time I saw him, I saw his van and the whole thing, and that was really cool. But the next time I saw him, might have been like Christmas Day, New Year's Day, I don't know, over at the testing center. And the dude is standing out there on a cold day for California, and he's standing out there with oh, really? It was a soft robe? I haven't felt the robe. Okay, you get me jealous now. I haven't had that level of intimacy with DOA. um, but I see him standing. Yeah, the Kool-Aid one. Exactly, Jesper. Are you from Denmark, Jesper? 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 However that would be in Denmark, or am I just making it up? Because there's an S-E-N at the end of your name, so looking for that Scandinavianese. But anyway, yeah, he's barefoot in shorts in the rain. Ah, velkommen. In the rain, or willkommen, wow, whatever you say it in Danish. Probably. Um, all muffled in Danish. The Danes have SEN, the Norwegians have SON, and the Swedes have SSON. Not 100% rule, but you can always guess the Scandinavians by the way they spell sun at the end blah, 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 of their last name. So SEN is generally always Danish, but there's mix-ups. There's some SENs in Norway and some SONs in Denmark, I'm sure. Whatever. So see, Magnus can prove it right there with the SSON. And in Iceland, they still use the actual thing, like in the other Nordic countries. They just have a last name like we have here. Like Anderson goes on, for generations. But in Iceland, they still have it like if your father's name, would be Andrew, Anders, whatever, it'd be Anderson. And then, right, daughter, You'd be like Anders' daughter, Anderson, and then, if your name was Catherine, whatever, I guess it wouldn't be the woman, but if your name was Carl, then your son would be, his last name would be Carlson, or your daughter would be Carl's daughter. Only in Iceland, but in the other Nordic countries, it used to be that way, but then they just standardized the names at some point. Anyway, there's my little Scandinavian sidebar thing, whatever. Um, and Speaking of the naivete and Scandinavians, when I lived in Sweden, and this was many, many years ago, I was always kind of blown away by the naivete of the Swedes and kind of annoyed by it a lot of times because they could be very Mayberry-esque, and they're like, why would you do something bad when you should have done something good? And I'd be the jaded one, like, come on, man, wake up, dude. Um, all right, a gifted membership. Thanks for gifting. Hey, Mrs. Valentine. West, you know what West means? You speak West Vlaams. Um, awesome. Mrs. Valentine in Utrecht, right? I think. See, I'm remembering stuff. So yeah, like the naive thing can be a pain in the butt when people are being goobers about it. Let's be honest. But I think it's a good tool. Um, Country full of blondes with blue eyes. Not as much, Magnus, as we think when we go there, right? We think when we go to Scandinavia, like every single person is going to be blonde and they're going to have blue eyes. And it's totally not everybody. My Swedish girlfriend that I lived with, could have been French the way she looked. She's brunette, whatever. But yeah, definitely more blondes than most places by far. Um, but anyway, the idea is that if we if we take a principled approach, like police should be happy to support protesters. Why would they not be? Why would they be against protesters in any way? Right? It's the authoritarian tendencies of the police that they don't like anything out of control, right? And of course, if you're a cop, you're looking at a big group of people, like I'm talking about a big protest. And you've been told by your leadership that, oh, there are some violent elements and watch out for Molotov cocktails and blah, all this stuff, right? So they get you all hyped up into this reptilian brain activation, fight, flight, fear. They jack it up and they make the cops look at the protesters as the enemy. And so, and sometimes the protesters are violent, but most of the times, in most protests, the violence comes from provocateurs. And what's a provocateur? It's generally a cop that is sent in there to start shit, to throw a rock, to break a window, whatever, to encourage other people to do it, to give the cops an excuse to come in and bust heads. Now, and then what happens is they run back straight through the police lines without being intercepted. So everybody seemed to know who they were, huh? not a conspiracy at all. And then when they get through, then you never see them again. And the cops say, we don't know who that was. We're on the lookout for them, that person in a mask and whatever. So it's really something that we need to talk like, hey, those provocateurs, they need to get a 20-year prison sentence. Okay? That we need to have some kind of investigative unit that investigates how the cops handle protesters. If you guys have never seen The Love Police, I don't know if they're still active, but it started out as two guys in London going around with bullhorns, megaphones, and exercising their rights to protest around London. But they did it as the Love Police. Okay? There was a scene exactly, yes, Vacant Sam, Charlie Veitch, yeah. So one episode, they're in Amsterdam, and there's some like anti-abortion protest, something like that, right? There's all these riot police in these militarized police vehicles lining up around the center of Amsterdam. And Charlie Veitch, I believe it was him, he goes up to one of the trucks, like the command center, knocks on the door, and the cop comes out. It's like the SWAT cop, right? And so the Love Police, Charlie Veitch, she's like, what seems to be the problem here? And the cop's like, who the hell are you? And he's like, do you have any ID? And he like touches his heart. He's like, this is my ID, man. Love Police. Right? It was so cool. It was so ballsy, right? But he would go up, he would piss the cops off, right, by whatever he was doing. And then he would say, we're doing an outreach program to the police where we hug the police, right? And then he would start like hugging the cops and they would start blushing and stuff. It was beautiful. That guy is that's the model. I didn't even think of it until now. That's the model of the naive thing that I'm talking about. The Love Police. You guys check out the Love Police. Go back, 10 years ago, whatever, watch their stuff. They have some hilarious stuff. I think they had a falling out and one guy is, quit doing it, whatever, who knows? There's always drama, whatever. There's me being jaded again. But anyway, they did this thing where they went to Buckingham Palace like over a decade ago, I'm sure. Maybe 20 years, but I don't know. It's like the old Scientology stuff. I can't remember. I can't put it on a timeline. But anyway, they go to Buckingham Palace and they start having a conversation with each other in this fake posh accent where they're like, and how could we get invited to meet the Queen, And yeah, I don't see myself hugging Tillman anytime soon. The American cops are less into the hugging deal than what the Love Police got away with in England. And a lot of times their hugs were mainly for like security guards and stuff. When I rewatched, I was like, oh yeah, that's not even really a cop, But yeah, good dare, Jesper. But yeah, it's like we want to come at these things with love, really. We want to come at these things with like my thing, the naive approach, like with politicians, do you really want to make the world better? Or do you just want to get reelected? Now, right, maybe I should give it a go. Yeah. you know, I will consent. I mean, it would be nice to say, could I give you a hug? And then just to see their reaction. Um, well, that's true. The US police are just decentralized. And that's the thing about uh, decentralization has its ups and downs, right? You know, like the Nazi police were not decentralized. That didn't really work out too well either, you know. So centralization has its dangers. And the danger of decentralization, yeah, is it's cheaper to corrupt the process locally. Here's a little analogy with decentralization being cheaper. So the yeah, very similar to Stasi. Yeah. And I got interrogated by the Stasi, so I know the Stasi a little bit. Too centralized isn't good either. Um, but what happens in a decentralized thing is you get that kind of like small town corruption, that good old boy network thing, where it only takes five guys in a room to, I was there was a Soviet diplomat who made an initial attempt, I think, to recruit me in Paris in the 80s. So I went to an event, let's say, and there was a Soviet diplomat. And I was kind of jeering against the Soviets during the event because it was about somebody being in prison, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, I started talking to the Soviet diplomat afterwards, and he was inviting me to come to his office and talk and whatever. Well, that's the first stage of recruitment, right? Soviet diplomats aren't recruiting young college students or asking them to come to the office just to shoot the shit and drink free vodka, you know. And I always had a little fantasy of like, you know, that if I would have taken him up on the offer and then gone to the US Embassy, said, I need to talk to the CIA, I'm being recruited by the KGB, you know, give me a wire to wear, whatever, let me be a double agent, you know. One of my little childish fantasies from the old days. But anyway, yeah, I was not recruited by the Stasi or attempted to be recruited. It was just more like being hassled at the border and intimidated, you know, a little bit like, we know where you've been, we know, you know, tell us more, whatever. They didn't get anything out of me. And it wasn't, you know, it wasn't a heavy interrogation either, you know. But when you're in a room with the Stasi, the East German border police, and your pockets are emptied and all that stuff, and they're kind of acting like we get to do whatever we want with you. Not a good look at all, Mrs. Valentine. You know, it's intimidating, and that's what the LAPD is counting on. They're counting on the intimidation factor that everybody is going to be so intimidated, so worried about going to jail and all that, that they're gonna just stop it. But the thing is, what they're not being smart about is this whole round of anti-Scientology protesting was started by Streets LA, by William Good, whose whole gig was filming the police. Okay, so he was already doing something far more directly involving the police and police corruption. We could say, and now he has Film the Police LA, I believe is his channel, and you know, he's focused on that a lot more, as well as Scientology stuff. But anyway, the thing is, this round of protesters was inaugurated from the energy of First Amendment auditing and filming the police. So you're not going to really intimidate everybody with the police in the same way that you would with another group of people, because that's not the way this is set up. This is not the group. If you took a bunch of suburban housewives from wherever, and they were the nexus of the protest, and they started getting thrown in jail all the time, you might scare them off. You might be like, hey, Billy didn't get picked up from school because mommy was in jail. And I know he is brilliant. William is brilliant. And again, that's not my lane. I'm not here to yell at the cops. Photographic memory, exactly. Yeah, his knowledge of how it works, who is who, chains of command, procedures, and the law, staggering to me. I mean, the dude should be a lawyer. There should be, I don't think he's going to waste 3 years going to law school and then have to fight within the system and be constrained by it. That would actually defang him. But anyway, different rounds of protests begin with different kind of casts of characters. Like the anonymous protests began with computer hackers. So you had the energy of that, of computer hackers, of people that were smart, mischievous, little on the nerdy side, maybe. And they were the ones doing the whole anonymous thing. And then you have other waves of like ex-Scientologists, and that's another thing. But this wave is inaugurated by people that are doing First Amendment auditing, police, like watching the cops and all of that. So you could make the argument that William Good diluted his anti-police energy by going into Scientology, right? But the thing is, if you have an evil organization that is tainted by corruption, you do need to bring in the other organization that is corrupting the big organization, the little organization, Scientology, the little tiny organization, but with big bank accounts, is corrupting the larger institution, the LAPD. And the fact that the mainstream media are not all over this on a daily basis also has my naivete wondering what the hell's going on. This should be one of the biggest stories ever. But now we can see that the mainstream media is really, it's really a protector of the status quo. The mainstream media is not trying to dig at all of the corruption. I get that you get the anxiety watching the protests. It can produce anxiety, and take care of yourself. Don't watch things that give you too much anxiety. You have to realize that when you run, swatting is very dangerous, and they definitely are swatting people. And when cops respond to a call with guns drawn, it doesn't take much for somebody to get killed. Okay. And so, if we would all express that. And I mean, there should be mainstream media news coverage on this. And I think there's going to have to be a big kind of police headquarters protest. And we're going to all have to get together and I mean, if they don't want to give us a permit for L. Ron Hubbard Way, then maybe they would rather give us a permit for police headquarters, because that your nerves are gone and vacated your body. They don't respond, the news outlets, yeah. So they just thank you for the tip, right? Because the thing is, basically a lot of the mainstream media has just become cheerleaders for both sides. I want to see that. Yeah, I thought I remembered something about the American ambassador in Holland doing some stupid ass shit, So I'm gonna check that out later. Thanks for that tip or reminder that they burn politicians. So the what I was saying is, like, you have MSNBC on the side of the Democratic Party, and they're rah, rah, rah for Biden. And then you got the Fox for Trump, and they're rah, rah, rah for Trump. And it's a big, dog and pony show. Okay. Nobody's talking about who's really running things, who's the power behind the throne. Nobody's talking about the corruption, because they're all running off of the corruption money. And so they have no incentive anymore to unveil the corruption, because that would burn their ability to receive money from the scheme, from the whole corruption scheme. And so that's my opinion, and maybe I'm being jaded now, but let's go back to the naive. How about if you would happen to talk to a journalist? Why are you guys just on either side, kind of upholding the charade? Trump versus Biden to me is the emperor's new clothes versus the emperor's new clothes. And everybody's naked and it's not looking pretty. Okay. And so it's like can you say, oh, we have a system in America where we pick the president every 4 years? And we have this exhaustive system to pick the best possible person. And in the end, we get the two best people in America, the smartest, the wisest, Thanks, Magnus. Thanks for being here. And then we pick the president among those two by a vote. Is that really what happens? Could anybody say, okay, if you love Biden, if you love Trump, can you really say either one of those is the sharpest nail in the toolbox, or whatever the expression is? No. Hell no. Maybe a lot sharper 40 years ago, but not today. Maybe 30 years ago, not today, right? But it's the emperor's new clothes on the mainstream media. It's nobody's saying they're naked. Nobody's saying, to the full extent. Not that they're not, what they're doing is they're saying, hey, the guy on the other side is naked. And the other side saying the guy on that side is naked. And then they're They're talking about who's really naked, but they're both naked. Coffin Dodger for president. Yeah, that's, well, either one of those is Coffin Dodger. One foot in the grave and the other foot on a banana peel. That's the upcoming election, the grave banana peel election. And then in my analysis, going a little off Scientology, Biden screwed himself with Kamala because Kamala has lower approval ratings than Biden. And so if he resigns, it's going to be Kamala. If he dies, it's going to be Kamala. There's no way. And then Kamala's going to lose. And then you got Trump. Okay, Biden, good job, right? So the Democrats got nowhere to go, but just double down for Biden. Okay, I don't hate Biden. I am to the left of Bernie. Okay, so Biden's not left enough. Biden's too corporatist. Biden is from Delaware, where all the credit card companies are, and they've been paying his bills for years, right? Biden's not some big leftist. Okay, MAGA people, that's not the left. That is the other side of the corruption, corporate, whatever. Okay. Oh, wow. You got to meet Seth MacFarlane. Awesome. Yeah, I love Bernie. And I'm to the left of Bernie. Okay. And not on all issues at all. I mean, on a lot of issues, people think I'm very to the right of Bernie. It's not a one-shot deal. Oh my God. I just saw like this pest control van pass by my house, something like that, like a utility type van, but it was all red, white, and blue writing and stuff, and I thought it was DOA. I was looking out the window. Is DOA driving by my house now? And then I just thought, no, it's not. Anyway, almost had a thrill there. So my point with the naivete, back to the naivete, is that you have, when you hold a certain ideal and you kind of insist on that ideal, the jaded approach would laugh at you for being naive, for not knowing how things really work and all of that. That's the jaded approach. Oh, you think there should be free speech? Well, there's never been free speech. Free speech has never existed. Yeah, definitely more Northern European. I 6 or 7 years in Europe, will internationalize you a little bit, even though it was a long time ago. But and the thing is, it's okay to have the knowledge. I have a master's in political science and I've studied, realpolitik and all this stuff. Okay, I can be jaded about it. I remember when I did my master's thesis on Syria, among other things, and basically the Syrian dictatorship of Bashar Assad. And I let my friend read it. And he's reading my master's thesis, and he's like, you sound like you approve of him, like you approve of his regime. I'm like, no, see, it's political science. Like, we're not taking a stand for or against. We're just analyzing how he wields power. And we're comparing it with how somebody else deals with a situation and how they wield power, right? And so my non-judgmental approach to Assad in my writing made my friend think like I was somehow pro-Assad. Assad was one of the worst dictators like Saddam Hussein level in the Middle East. FYI. And his son is not much better now, and the whole country's destroyed. And long story. But anyway, the thing is, I know no word on Danny. Yeah, well, I think he's supposed to have the hearing at 1:30. So, but thanks for the update. What time is it? It's 12:30. Yeah, so we're definitely not going to find out probably for another hour or more, because just because the hearing is at 1:30 doesn't mean that he will come up at 1:30. Like he could come up at 5:30 or something. Who knows? Um, but yeah, like with the Danny situation, with all of these arrests, what is happening? The police are using any excuse, any trumped up fake excuse to arrest us. And then they are they like to do it on the weekend or before the weekend so that we spend a few days in jail. And when I say we, I have not been arrested. I am not trying to get the false glory. I have not spent days in jail. Okay, talk about us as a group. And we're not a group either. FYI. We are individuals, but I get to say we every now and then. Anyway, they they want to hold us as punishment. Comply or be complied with. Yep. And it's punishment. And it is the electric fence. That if you touch the electric fence, Old Spice, that's what I need, huh, Keith? Just so I don't have to put it on me. I don't really want the smell, but I would gladly do the commercial, for a nice little stipend. Um, so probably what will happen is either hello you. Either they will drop the charges, they will decide not to push for it, but since they've already dropped it down to a misdemeanor, they might decide to push for the misdemeanor and set a trial date for later. And at that point, it'll be dropped before that even happens. That's my prediction. Because they got nothing. And there is video that completely proves his innocence. Okay. And that's what's happening in all of these situations, that there is video. And so, and remember, we can always call for a jury trial in America. And so if we had a jury trial where they would have to convict you beyond reasonable doubt, how the hell are they going to be beyond reasonable doubt when they got a video? And what prosecutor is going to take that? The prosecutors aren't interested in this. And one of my subscribers sent me some background information, which I don't have right in front of me, so I can't rattle it off. But one of the main, how do you pronounce it? Kellen? I am having a fabulous day. Seeing a few more people jumping on here is a fun thing. But what they're hoping is that it's just going to be such a pain in the ass for all these people to go to jail over and over. But like I was just watching DOA an hour or two ago, and he was saying like, last time I got thrown in jail, I can't remember, like 8 grand, 12 grand, It's like, throw me in jail, man. This is good for my bottom line. I get paid when I go to jail, right? So we all kind of know if we go to jail, there's going to be fundraising, and there's going to be from Aaron Smith Levin is going to put the word out. It's going to go out throughout LA. It's going to go out throughout the world. And people are going to send in their dollars and their $5 and their whatever, and it's going to add up. And so it's like they don't really have a good method there, because you arrest us, it gets us views. I mean, I'd have more than 21 people watching right now if I just got arrested a few times, but I'm okay. If that's what happens, that's what happens. I'll take that when it happens, but not pushing that. Um, but when we come at this from the ideal, when no, we don't need me arrested. No, we don't. And I don't need to get arrested to get views. I don't really give a shit to that level. Okay. I can organically get the people into my vibe, and otherwise, don't need it. But when you start protesting against Scientology, you have to be realistic. You have to know that you might get arrested, whatever. I had a client from my day job business yesterday, who I informed about my Scientology activities, because I like to inform my clients about that, in case that's a problem, full disclosure. And she told me that she had a friend who was in Scientology. The whole family was in Scientology. Her friend left Scientology, and it was like 20 years ago. And this person is still being stalked to this day, 20 years later. Okay. There will be creepy people standing out. No, I think as a disabled woman with a service dog, it's a really good idea. That's the perfect protester. Because, yeah, it is disturbing, isn't it? They're standing out in front of this person's house. There's private detectives. I've had other people contact me privately that literally 20 years of nonstop, I mean, not nonstop, but I mean, there's never a week. This one other person told me, not a week goes by without some Scientology creepiness after 20 years. People hanging out. They hire mentally unstable people. They give them money to be like, hey, mess with that person. I don't know what they actually say. I don't know what they actually do to make that happen. I don't think that any of these deranged people have actually come out and testified to the recruitment. And they probably would make very bad witnesses on the stand because they have mental issues, right? And as we know, Scientology could just fix them all up, right? Yeah, right. But they don't. They weaponize them. Scientology weaponizes the stupidity of their members, the gullibility. Scientology weaponizes the police and the political establishment through its bribery. And Scientology weaponizes the mentally ill. Yeah, if they can fix blindness, yeah, that'd be something, right? Um, Come on, Elron, where's your blindness rundown? Show us your healing powers. Um, so we need to come at them, from my opinion, or it's my thing, from holding a standard of an ideal. Like, here's a standard of an ideal. If we, yeah, no LAPD touches this. Let's say there's an organization that claims to be bringing mental health and spirituality and awakening to mankind to save us from the prison planet. Let's say Earth is a prison planet. Let's go along with that for a moment. If Earth is a prison planet and it is imperative that we get out of the prison, let's say that's true. Let's say L. Ron Hubbard was right. Wouldn't you want a functional organization that was capable of breaking us out of that prison? Rather than an insular religion, quote unquote, that is dependent on an ever shrinking base of whales to pay the bills and an ever shrinking base of actual members. Okay, if we're on a prison planet, we're going to need a bigger organization. And to have a bigger organization, we're going to need an organization that can evolve and adapt. Not an organization that is stuck like a fly or mosquito in amber, unable to move for millennia. Okay, we need an organization that can respond to the times that it's in. Has anybody ever heard of a telex machine? You got to be a certain age if you've ever heard of telex. But telex is something that they had way before email. A way of sending messages like travel agents could send stuff, to make reservations with a telex machine, whatever. Well, apparently, up until very recently, and somebody can tell me if it's still ongoing, because L. Ron Hubbard's business technology talked about using a telex machine, every Scientology organization had telex machines. Yes, before VHS, exactly. So even after email was already happening and technology had gone beyond, but Hubbard was dead, he couldn't rewrite his books and nobody else is authorized to. Every Scientology organization had a telex machine. That's dumb, people. So Scientology cannot evolve. It cannot adapt to changing times. They have no ability to do that. They hunker down. Scientology can't even come out and have a comm cycle with you. What's a comm cycle? It's what most of us would, after the Enigma machine, from World War II, right? A comm cycle is a conversation. Scientologists claim to be the master of communications. That's how they get people into Scientology, the communications course. And then you show up at a Scientology location and they run away like little scared 2-year-olds back under mommy's skirt. Okay, and they cannot even talk to you. Yes, they run from all these communication. If I had, put me in charge of Scientology, let me reform it. I mean, it's going to be a big reform, but I would love to have the cash. So what would I do with Scientology? First of all, I would expose the past of Scientology, right? We'd have to go through and do a truth and reconciliation process. Okay, I, Davey Mismanage, have now taken over from the evil dwarf, and I am now running Scientology. Okay, I got to make a video doing my speech. I got to do that. And so my speech would be, this organization under its previous leadership has committed a lot of crimes, and a lot of moral crimes against humanity as well. And, now I've taken over, and I promise to uproot all of this, all the past. And I'm way too tall. You're right. I'm much too tall to be a leader of such an organization. And we are going to be very transparent. Also, we are going to throw under the bus all of our co-conspirators. Okay. Um, yeah, where's your OT 9 and 10? Oh, I'll write OT 9 and 10, don't worry. And I'm going to rewrite the other ones, okay? I'm going to be like, Xena was bullshit, but there are aliens, okay? They're definitely aliens. Like, if you don't think they're aliens, that's dumb, okay? That's like saying that there are no other stars, there are no other. Like, if all the other stars and galaxies are fake, then maybe there's no aliens, but come on. How could there be no aliens? Okay, there's like 200 million stars in the Milky Way, something like that. I mean, come on. You tell me one of those places had life, but no other. We just happen to be it. I don't think so. So anyway, I could make a nice little alien church. We could go off to the go to the desert, and we'll have little prayer circles to invite the aliens down. We'll make Scientology cool. We'll make it all about the aliens. We'll get all the Trekkies, the Star Wars people. We'll get them all in there, right? We'll even settle their beefs, right? Under the cause of like real aliens, okay? We could have a lot of fun if we all owned Scientology, and we could say, hey, you know what? We've been paying off these politicians and they took our money gladly. You might want to ask them some questions. Oh, and here's our contact at the police department. And, we could have a lot of fun owning an organization like that. And then we could talk about, hey, under the former administration of evil, why were all these people going along with this bullshit? Okay. And, and then we could actually awaken humanity by just telling the truth, right? And journalists could awaken humanity right now by actually exposing the bullshit wherever they find it, including in their own party. Okay? That's the way journalism should be. Have charges been dropped? Audiobook for dogs. Is that my career recommendation now? So 40 minutes, yeah. No, I didn't expect any news now. But if we hold an image of, like you walk into a church and you see a really amazing architectural specimen, this church, or like a cathedral or whatever, right? And then you look at the people in the church and they look miserable. And that makes me think this building should be repurposed for something more fun. Like, wouldn't this be a good nightclub? Wouldn't this architecture be better for dance parties, raves, whatnot, right? Wouldn't it be better for that than a bunch of people looking gloomy on, into one of those churches is 250, yeah, into the Church of Scientology. Why have this gloomy thing on Sunday morning when you could have everybody doing X on Saturday night and bumping and grinding? having fun, listening to some tunes. Um, and So Scientology is the same thing. Okay, Scientology, you got an infrastructure, you got cool buildings. Okay, you already got the alien beliefs. Okay, we can make this awesome. People are into aliens. You could be having alien movies like every night for free instead of bullshit Dianetics movies where you're trying to trap people into a cult. Okay, if you just showed cool alien movies all the time, plus you got all these film studios, why don't you make some cool alien movies, but drop the L. Ron Hubbard scripts? DJ Davy, yeah, that'd be fun. Um, my point, from my naive point of view, is why can't everything just be cool? Why can't everybody be mellow? Why do cops have to be dicks? Why do church people have to be a drag? Why are politicians old and decrepit and corrupt and all this other crap? You know, why not just have it be cool? And that's where I think we're headed. Because I'm naive. Because I believe that deep down we are souls, we are spirits. Deep down, there's a part of us that knows all the bullshit. And I think that part is knocking on people's heads these days and waking them up to like, what the hell is this crap? And, if you think of just like 100 years ago, all the racism, all the economic exploitation, the child labor, all this crap that existed back then that is better now. If you look at the trajectory, on many levels, we are moving in the right direction. And we're not going to move in the right direction through being jaded. We're going to move in the right direction through having an ideal. By having, hey, Magnus, oh, you didn't miss anything, man. We're just holding up everything for your return. But we didn't, you know, if everybody holds an ideal and they kind of act like that when they see the opposite, right? When you see the cops laughing at Streets when he got his nose busted and saying, oh, the whole world needs to look at that and be like, you're a cop. When the cops refuse to arrest the guy because he's hiding in the restaurant, everybody knows it, people should be appalled by that. But even Streets is like, yeah, right, I know you're not going to arrest the guy, right? That's the jaded thing. I'm not criticizing Streets for that, because Streets, how are you going to not be jaded if you're him? If you're seeing all this crap day after day after day after day, you get disillusioned. Yeah, I'm calling for re-illusionment. I'm calling for that we need to not accept this is how it goes. That's why at heart, I'm some kind of revolutionary, not violent revolutionary, but revolution of consciousness, revolution of expectation. We should expect the naive shit that right, like Mindy. Yeah, exact. Good point about Mindy. Right? She's like, I always supported the cops, and now you're being mean. That's I'm not. She's not dumb about that. She's aligned with truth about that. It's a beautiful thing. Okay. Um, so we need to have an expectation of the kind of world that, oh yeah, Streets is much more realistic. But see, realistic to me is very status quo. Realistic is not evolutionary. I'm about evolutionary. I'm about we could take this to a higher level. Streets is in the battle. Streets has a different position in the battle. I can't get to the meeting at 4:30, but I hear it's going to be live streamed or whatever, so that the link was sent. So hopefully I can do that. And Chichikana, can you send me that link to my email? Because I don't know if I'm ever going to find it here. I'd really appreciate that. But it's going to be on Zoom. Yeah. Oh, you're going to stream it on your channel. Okay, okay. I'll go to your channel. Let's give everybody some Chichikana views. Let's give her the views at what was it, 2:30? 4:30? I'm in space mode when I do this. I'm just, I'm channeling from my Thetan. 4:30, right. Okay. So often rewards. Well, yeah. Society is set up now to reward narcissists and sociopaths, psychopaths. Absolutely. And think of it this way. How did society get started? It got started by who's the biggest badass that can protect our cave from the other cave coming and plundering. And so, and then, skip forward a few thousand years and you have feudalism, and you have, you have the system in Europe at least, but in a lot of places, you have kings, you have nobility, aristocracy, military, and all of that, because it's everybody against everybody, and you got to be prepared. And so society has been run by the psychopaths for a long time. And my naive viewpoint, my spiritual viewpoint, whatever, is that we are evolving out of that slowly but surely. That my viewpoint on the spiritual metaphysical level, not that that's the whole focus of this channel, but that we are souls, that Scientology has it right. We're not Thetans, though. We're souls. We're spirits. We are spirits in the material world. Okay? Sting got it right. And as we awaken to that fact, all the fear, yeah, I would rather have the Hare Krishna zone and all that than Scientology. Because at least, Hare Krishnas give free food to like everybody that wants it. And they got some cool chanting. I don't like their cult. They tried to rip me off when I was like 11 years old in San Francisco. And I was like, oh, I'll buy your book for $1. And then I'm like, you have change for a 20. And then they tried to keep the 20. And I'm like, And so I got the 20 back and I'm like, no more you. Hey, I wouldn't have minded a Bhagavad Gita for $1, but they want to pull some crap on me. So, I was ready to go to war against that guy as an 11-year-old man trying to take my $20. Yeah, the airport cults, back in the 70s, maybe early 80s, they used to have these circles on the floor with tape, and the cult members would have to stand inside the circle to do their recruiting. There were so many cults reporting at airports back then, that they literally, they couldn't stop them, but yeah, and I didn't see your whole point about let's see, about um, more evolving, have higher yeah, it's all about the expectations. The fact is, people are going, and it was a small circle. Yeah, people are seeing these cops on YouTube being assholes. And you got to think their friends, their family, a lot of people are seeing these things, and they're not looking good. Sunlight is the best disinfectant here, right? Just shine a light on what they're actually doing, and that's all you got to do. You don't even have to comment on it hardly, right? Because there is a part. Oh, there's a lot of problem with the Krishnas. I'm not acting like, I just like foreign shit, to tell you the truth, and I like actual spiritual stuff more. Krishnas have a lot of problems. I agree. Um, I knew a very spiritual lady once upon a time who was just, a mind blowing person. And she told me she would go meditate with Hare Krishnas. And I was like, oh my God, you might get sucked into the cult. And she was kind of like, no, I go in, I meditate, I do the chanting, and then I leave. I'm fine. I wouldn't urge most people to do that. She was a highly evolved person. Don't try this at home, kids. But, anyway, uptight people in military costumes, not my thing. You know, Robes and turbans and shit and drumming, more my thing. Um, you can smoke a joint and listen to Hare Krishna music. You want to smoke a joint and deal with anything Scientology? I don't think so. That's why I say mushrooms and acid for all Scientologists. Wake them up, man. You know, give somebody a few hits of acid, send them into the Sea Org for a day. They're not going to be wanting to be in the Sea Org much longer, right? They're going to be like, what is this bullshit, right? The Great Awakening can then proceed. Um, Not suggesting anybody dose any Scientologists with acid. That's not my point. But I'm saying, hypothetically, if they were to take acid, I think they would see through the bullshit really quickly. Anybody's ever done any acid, you know how ridiculous normal bullshit, strict rule kind of life. I used to take acid and stand on this bridge and watch the cars come, and like as the sun was coming up, and see all these people that just woke up. Peyote does help you refocus. Yes, ayahuasca will even refocus you more. And different focus, And then there's Wachuma, San Pedro, like all kinds of good stuff. The plants from nature, they're not drugs, they're medicines. Okay. And LSD, kind of comes from nature. But but anyway, I used to trip on acid and look at people driving their cars being miserable at like 5 in the morning and be like, and just see through all the bullshit and be like, I'm all happy and beaming and coming down from my trip, and you guys look miserable. What the hell's going on? Now, if you would see Scientologists in that state of mind, you wouldn't stop laughing. I mean, All right, external affairs. Thanks for the shroom. Everybody can send me my shrooms, please. Um, One thing I loved when I moved to California almost 4 years ago, the idea of California sober. It's like no hard drugs, no alcohol, but shrooms and weed is fine. He wasn't in the Church of Scientology. He had done some Scientology. He wasn't, I don't believe that Mark David Chapman was a full-fledged Scientologist. Um, Actually, who was it? Natalie. Natalie's the one who met him, actually. And she told the story of it. And I think she's the one that got him to come and do some Scientology in Hawaii. Um, Sold him her drawings, right? They tried to get. The thing is, I've worked with actors, and there's one, yeah, California Sober. Shrooms, no problem. Weed, no problem. Just don't drink. Don't do coke, right? Well, sugar, okay, that's a different situation. That's definitely one of my issues. That's my white stuff of choice. But yeah, the California sober thing, yeah, meth, yeah, not too good. Um, a couple days ago when I did the live stream over at Big Blue, I'm walking down the street and there's this guy lighting up a like foil thing, and he's taking a hit off of like a straw or whatever off of the foil that he's heating up. So it's either heroin or meth or something like that. And as I walked by filming, and I didn't like point it right at him, but I might have caught it a little bit. I didn't review it, but it's from 2 or 3 days ago. And he said something like self-medicating. And I was like, rock on, dude. I mean, for a junkie, he had a sense of humor, so it was cool. But anyway, yeah, California. And then as soon as I left, snooze. Oh man, yeah, that snooze. Not into. Are you into snooze smugness? And the way they do, oh, fentanyl. Yeah, well, if he was smoking pure fentanyl, I assume he'd be dead. But Swedish snooze. Oh, you like that shit? Ugh, I hate the way it looks. It's the Swedish chewing tobacco, and they would put it right in the front, like it'd be like that. And they have this applicator. It's really finely ground tobacco, and they would stick this applicator, this plastic thing, and it's like a tube, and then you stick it up here, and then and it's like this about the size of Hitler's mustache thing that goes in there with tobacco. And so many Swedish guys are into that. Yeah, of course I tried it when I was there. I prefer Red Man or something like that. Yeah, it's fine, very finely ground wet tobacco. And it messed up my image of Sweden to a certain degree, because when I went to Sweden at age 16 as a foreign exchange student, my image was like, we're all the hicks in America. Yeah, you don't chew it, no. And, the Europeans are all sophisticated and whatever. And then you see these guys with chewing tobacco. Like that in America, chewing tobacco, I know you don't chew it. I know it's not chewing tobacco, whatever, but that tobacco in, habit, you know, surströmming. Yeah, I was given the honor in my Swedish family of opening the can. So that surströmming is rotten fish in a can, basically, but it's rotted in a way where it won't kill you. It's some form, like ancient preservation technique that involves rotting. And so when you open the can, instantly the entire house stinks. And about 3 minutes later, the entire neighborhood stinks. And oh no, you will only open it underwater if you're a wuss. Thank you, Magnus. It is pretty horrible. Um, and the cans actually bulge sometimes if you get like, if you get like last year's vintage or a few years, the longer the cans stay unopened, the more they start bulging. But it's safe to eat. It's not very safe to smell. And you eat it on this certain bread with like this Lapland kind of whatever, with diced onions and a bunch of stuff to hide the smell. But my idea, and nobody should do this, this is just a fantasy thought. If somebody would happen to go into La Poubelle early, like maybe 7:30 on a Friday or Saturday night, open a little surströmming. I can't even pronounce surströmming. I can only see I'm out of pronunciation touch. That open that in La Poubelle, and then just be like, hey, what's the problem? Problem with that fish, you might get arrested for yeah, I need to find out about a call in. That I would love that, because I can talk about a lot more than Scientology, that's for damn sure. Until I dump their call, which I'd probably do a lot. And durian, I've never smelled that, but I hear it's horrible. But yeah, you open one of those cans, because I remember you'd go around in Sweden and there's like one day of the year where they eat this rotten fish, and you could go around and you'd smell like the whole neighborhood would smell like it if one house opened the can. And then you could even smell which house it came from. Just get closer to the house and you could tell, oh, that's who did it. But there's some famous story of where somebody took that fish on an airplane, and like then the can exploded, and then they basically had to like fly back. It was some really messed up thing. I don't know if they tried to throw it out the window and then it hit the propeller, or some crap. It was a big mess, but you cannot take that fish on airplanes anymore. It's like really not allowed. And you might get busted for some kind of toxic waste thing, but I don't know. Would somebody be allowed to open a can on the street in front of La Poubelle? Not on the property? Would that be a problem? I don't know. Not something I'm going to do. Not something I'm advocating. Just a fun thought, okay? Yeah, the cokeheads at La Poubelle won't notice. You're right. Yeah, please, police officers, do not get me on conspiracy to fishify the trash can. Okay. I don't see how there'd be a problem putting rotten fish in a trash can in La Poubelle. Weaponized fish. Yes. I mean, that is truly a very fish tech, right? It is a very weaponizable item, believe me. Um, Maybe we could get slingshots and shoot the rotten fish into certain areas where, it is a biological weapon. But the thing is, it's not, it's not deadly or anything. It's not like, it's stinky, but you can eat it. So shouldn't really be a huge problem. But anyway, one of my fantasy ideas, yeah, a fish catapult, exactly. I mean, those walls at the Celebrity Center, they're kind of begging for some catapulting action. Wouldn't you say? You know, to have that outreach to the celebrities, we might need to scale the walls, but we don't want to do it with our bodies because, yeah, that's my sales pitch. It's the stinkiest fish you've ever smelled, but don't worry, you can eat it. um, and I don't know, maybe it could be open. It would take a couple weeks to get the smell out. Yeah. So that might not be good for restaurants. So, any Swedish people, um please don't take that another way. As a gay woman, there ain't no other way meant here. We're talking about Swedish rotten fish, only the actual aquatic thing. Rotten fish tacos. Oh, God. Oh, no, don't make me think of this shit. Okay, so, yeah, very politely decline. Um, we can think about all these evil things that I would never do, right? And fantasizing is free and it's nice. Oh, you brought the tone scale down. Yes. So anyway. Oh, Jessica has a P.O. box. Okay, well, I know nothing. But anyway, yes, Swedish people, if you happen to be coming to America and you might want to bring a can on the plane, although, hey, I'm not encouraging any illegal behavior, but. And if you happen to join one of the protests and you happen to pass the can along to one of the protesters, mention my name. I do know how to deal with it. I do know the implications of this substance. But this is all for entertainment purposes only. Pass the can. Yeah. Scientology loves cans. What's wrong with one more can? Well, actually, you need two to make it work. So, okay, Swedes, bring two. Um, anyway, we await news that could happen within the next few minutes of Danny's release. Hopefully, that will happen. I can't imagine that a prosecutor is going to think that this is something that they could prosecute and they could win. And let me tell you this much, if the prosecutor goes for this one, they're probably doing the cops a favor. It's probably a little backroom deal where they took the charges down from a felony to a misdemeanor. So here's my jaded, non-naive approach. Let me give you my analysis. And I hope this is not the case, okay? That a backroom deal was made. We need to take one of these to trial, okay? Do me a favor, this is what they were asking the prosecutors. The corruption of the police now is trying to involve the prosecutors. So here's our step. This is my Machiavellian idea that they are going to say, okay, we're going to make it a misdemeanor, but we do need you to prosecute. Okay. And so they make it a misdemeanor, and now they schedule a court date. And here's what I think would end up happening off of that. Before the court date actually happens, the charges will be dropped. But if everybody knows that every time they arrest one of us, the charges are always dropped, and it's just the same crap, they try to keep us in jail over the weekend so that then the charges can eventually be dropped, right? There's somebody in the police department pushing somebody in the DA's office to say, we need you not to drop the charges. Some little favor, some little repaying a favor kind of deal. That's my cynical fear here, that he will be facing some kind of misdemeanor charge, but since the evidence is not there, okay, it's his word against his word, and the cameras back up Danny. It's not going to go to trial. There might be some kind of trying to make a plea deal or whatever, because what Scientology and the police want, so stepping out of my naivete for a moment, what Scientology and the police want is for a conviction. They want some convictions on the board. Even if it is a very minor conviction, because once they have a conviction, then they can get a restraining order based on the conviction. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how this shit all works. This is just from what I picked up in the background, so feel free to straighten me out. They want to get some minor conviction on the board so they can start getting restraining orders. They can start putting us together as if we are a group, and and their method then would be to frame us in the mind of the public and the political establishment, the police, as an organized group. Scientology would want to make it a hate group because, their whole thing is religious bigotry. Dumbasses. Okay, religious bigotry. Give me a break. Hey, thank you so much for being here, Chichikana, and moderating and everything. I guess you're still just the moderator because I did it before. I didn't push anything this time, but great. You have the job permanently. And thanks for being here. Big hug later on. And yeah, so I think, I have sent an email to Angry Gay Pope requesting an interview because I want to ask him about this whole thing. Yeah, good. Yeah, perfect approach fits right in with me, Chi. So anyway, I want to talk to the Angry Gay Pope because he is not allowed near Scientology locations. And I want to do a little, strategizing and whatnot. A Hollywood resident meeting, March 16th at 11:30 a.m. What is that meeting about? A Hollywood resident meeting. Okay, I want to know more about that. Is that Yeah, let me know and send me any links to this meeting at davymismanage@protonmail.com, please. That's the best way to get me because I don't know how to find all these comments when the stream's over. I should do some research into that, but show up and ask questions about. Is that the thing that Streets went to? That where it's kind of like a community board type thing or whatever. Um, but yeah, I want to know more about that. And yeah, and I think we should all kind of like disperse through the crowd, right? And then stand up as individuals. But we can all clap when one of us asks a very similar question. So I want to talk to Angry Gay Pope. I'm awaiting his response. I'm really hoping if anybody knows him, tell him what a great guy I am. And because he is one of my heroes from back in the day, and he's still around. I believe he's still in LA, hopefully nearby. It's like a city hall meeting, right? Yeah, Streets went to something like that in Hollywood. So anyway, hopefully soon I will have a broadcast with Angry Gay Pope, and I want to talk about how Scientology managed to block him to get him blocked from here. Hey, kitty, check it out. My assistant. Say hi to your people. Anyway, um, yeah, so hopefully that will be happening soon. Um, I hope to get some papal indulgences from the Pope. That is the only Pope I would want to talk to. Actual popes in Rome, I got an issue with you guys. But the Angry Gay Pope is a hero of mine and hopefully yours. And anybody that doesn't know the Angry Gay Pope, look him up on YouTube. His interactions with Odo from back in the day are legendary material. And he has a Facebook page. Yeah, yeah. I need to get on that too. And oh my God, yeah. No, the Christianity, look, the idea of Jesus. I'm all for the ideas of Jesus. The application of the idea of Jesus by Christianity, no, thank you. I was in a Christian, like really evangelical holy roller summer camp 1 year before I became Jewish. Now I'm a heathen. But, my mom married a Jewish guy just in time for me to have a bar mitzvah and get all the presents and the money and all that. So, good call, Mom. Thank you. That was great. Anyway, I was at Christian summer camp, like super holy roller, Pentecostal level. And they were doing talking in tongues. And I totally wanted to talk in tongues. I was down for channeling the Lord in foreign languages. Hell yeah. I'm all about that shit. So everybody's doing blah, 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 blah. I'm like, that's not it. And I spoke Spanish as a kid because my babysitter was from Mexico. So at the time, I spoke fluent Spanish. And when everybody's talking in tongues, my preacher, who I knew spoke Spanish, he started praying in Spanish. And I'm like, dude, that's Spanish. I can understand what you're saying. You're not talking in tongues. You're praying in Spanish. That doesn't count. Okay? And so anyway, the whole room was faking, in my humble opinion, They were faking that they were talking in tongues. And I was the only holdout in the entire room because I'm like, I'm only going to talk in tongues if the Spirit of the Lord comes through and I talk in tongues. And the Spirit of the Lord didn't show up that day in my heart and in my tongue. And so I did not talk. And I mean, they were trying to drive Satan out of me. I had 50 people's hands on my back, like, Satan, leave this boy, you know. And I mean, it was some Mississippi level shit. And that was in California. So, yeah. Luckily, I've gotten to partake in a lot of fun religions, you know. I've gotten to partake in very aggressive Christianity, absolutely very like talk in tongues. Luckily, no snakes, you know. Yeah, maybe God spoke Spanish that day, right? Yeah. I mean, he usually does, right? But anyway, you know, seeing all these different religions, you know, from the inside, maybe God is Spanish. No, God's a Mexican, not Spanish. You know, um, there's some Mexican saying about Mexico, like, um, something like Mexico's screwed, it's so far from God and so close to the United States or something. I don't know. I can't remember the thing, but there's some Mexican saying like that. But anyway, as a Californian, you know, my frame of reference for Spanish is Mexico, not Spain. First time I went to Spain, everybody was lisping. I'm like, what the hell? Um, you know, first guy that was lisping, I just figured he was gay. Second guy was lisping, I was like, okay, there's a lot of gay people here in Spain. You know, because in Spain they lisp their S. They're like España, right? So to me that seemed like, okay, maybe we have a gay man here, you know. And then when women were doing it, I'm like, okay, well, that's not a gay woman thing to lisp. Okay, so, you know, and now everybody's doing it. I was like, this is some weird ass Spanish, you know. Anybody that grew up hearing Mexican, you know, Latin American Spanish, you know, you hear that Spain Spanish. Weird. I know it's the original, but whatever. But anyway, side note. And speaking of gay and not lisping, is the angry gay pope. Yeah, I want to find out from the angry gay pope. How did they get you? How did they get you? Because he cannot go near any Scientology location, and I don't know the details of his restrictions, but he cannot join us by law because they got his ass on some technicality. So, from my limited understanding, it's like they got to get you arrested and convicted of something first. Oh, you want to get more into this situation? Okay. They You got to be in the camera, in the shot, dude. You can't just be underneath. Um, so they need to get you convicted of something. They need to be able to have a reason that they need to protect themselves from your presence. So, thank you. This is Munchkie, because when I first got him, he would attack his food in a really funny way. Like, he was really tiny when I got him, and he would just jump at the food and like take a bite, you know. So no, it's not a Bengal. Um, no, it's a regular cat. It's a tabby, whatever. But just a standard little Munchkin Schnauzer, right, Munchkie? Um, But yeah, I want to know, how did they get him? How did they set him up? Because it's like they get you arrested, they get you on the list of evildoers, whatever, and then they claim that they're feeling threatened and they need you to stay a certain distance from them. Mark Bunker, who is on the city council of Clearwater, has like a 20-year-old injunction that he has to stay away from Scientologists. Okay, in a town, like as if that dude is a threat. The guy's like what, like in his late 60s or something, and this injunction has been maintained. That's one of the strategies they're going to have. The only problem with that strategy is that there's just more and more people that are going to fill in the spaces. Um, you know, if you get restraining orders against literally all of us, there will be a new batch of people with YouTube channels and TikTok that'll be on the streets of Hollywood the next day. That's my prediction, at least. There are so many people into this story, and the mainstream media that's pretty much ignoring this story is stupid. Because the fact is, all you people would pay attention to it. And not only that, you would share it with your friends who don't watch this kind of material. You would share that website, newspaper, whatever, magazine, article with people. So it's really stupid that they're not following this story, because this is an international story. I mean, like if I just look at my little meager chat here, live stream, we have people from all over America, from Europe, we get Australia, New Zealand, we get all kinds of countries on here. People that are interested in Scientology in LA, and people that are interested in how the LA cops, right, Canada, hello, how the LA cops behave. We have people from kind of, let's say, stricter countries than here being like, man, I can't believe how your cops act there. So this is spreading. We don't really need the mainstream media, because the fact is more people watch YouTube than watch mainstream media anyway. But it's time for us to start having expectations on the media, the cops, the politicians, and all of them, to uphold a higher standard, what I'm calling the naive standard. And yes, 60 Minutes Australia, thank you for the correction. That is true. They are about the best mainstream media source for Scientology information that I have seen in a long ass time. Not like Leah Remini's show or whatever. But oh well, I can put my Davey Mismanage email on there. That's what it's for. Susan Bassel. Okay. Interesting. Didn't know that. Anyway, this is a story that's getting worldwide attention. But a lot of times we focus on the mainstream media like they set the standard, and they actually don't, because they don't get as many hits. There are a lot of YouTube shows like Breaking Points or whatever that actually get way more views than CNN. So the mainstream media is on the way out. And but we still get trapped in the mentality of we need them to cover it. On a certain level, we don't even need them at all because we're getting the message directly to the consumer without going through their whole matrix of bullshit. So that's a nice thing. Um, but on the other hand, they're stupid that they don't do it. Portland Andy, okay, thanks for the tips. And if anybody has tips or anything they want to send me privately, not on the chat, Davey Mismanage at protonmail.com. I appreciate it. If there's been any updates on Danny, let me know. Yeah, I mean, the only problem with YouTube or whatever is that they feed you what you're already into. And so you might not get the other side of the story unless you go looking for it. That's kind of the same with all the media, though. So, not something specifically negative about YouTube. So, anyway, we need to have a standard. That standard to the jaded mind. So, what I'm really saying with this naivete is that when we uphold a certain standard, like freedom of speech, and the cops shouldn't persecute protesters, and the church shouldn't rip people off, and blah, 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 all these really naive ideas. We need to be ready to be called naive, to be criticized for being naive, and we need to learn to stand behind that. It's like, yeah, I am naive. Yeah, that's right. I'm not stupid, but call me naive, fine. I don't think cops should be protecting human trafficking cults. If that means I'm naive, guilty. All right. And we need to have that sweeter approach. I'm not all jaded and pissed off, and I'm not all victimized by you. I'm more like, hey, this is kind of bullshit. Why are you into this bullshit? Wouldn't it be more fun to do cool shit than to do Scientology? Wouldn't it be more fun to go drink margaritas and eat nachos than to be screamed at by your supervisor in the Sea Org? Come on, you guys. Life can be amazing. And for whatever reason, certain people joined these incel controlled cults. Okay. But what if we just present a really naive image? Wouldn't you be happier on the beach? You're French, right? And Françoise is an embarrassment. Is she French? I heard she was Dutch or Dutch French, or is she actually from France? And where? And we need to maybe do some French language outreach. If you would want to, I know Francoise is a French name. Yeah, I get that, but a lot of people have French names that are not French. But yeah, we maybe need to, if you want to send me some nice French protest slogans to my email account, davymismanage@protonmail.com, I would appreciate that. We could think about maybe some signs in French. Not that anybody's going to understand it around these parts, but if Françoise est française, elle peut comprendre. C'est un culte, oui, je sais, mais on a besoin de quelque chose directement contre la poubelle. We need some slogans against la poubelle. But anyway, yeah. Hey, you guys, could you give me a few more likes? I'm going to get going here, but I would appreciate any likes. Oh, thank you. My French, my Swedish is so much better than my French that I always feel like my French is really bad. But for an American, it's not the worst. So whatever. But anyway, if you could hit me with some more likes and subscribes on your way out, that would be highly, highly, highly appreciated. And more later, I kind of enjoy doing these from home as well. Pardon your French. That's my Swedish is pretty good. Yeah, it's much better. Now I got to learn Danish, and like the Swedes say, you want to speak Danish, just put a bunch of potatoes in your mouth and speak Swedish, and then you'll be speaking Danish. It's not actually that easy, but it does kind of sound like that. But anyway, you guys, thanks for being here. Thank you so much. I really appreciate having anybody watching me, feeding my ego and my narcissism, very nice thing of you to do. So anyway, you guys have a great day. I'm going to too, and I'm going to start looking for that if there's any Danny updates and find out about that La Poubelle thing. So tack ska du ha, och yeah, everybody, your ancestors met because what I like to say to any Northern European, and what I think, if you want to connect, vi ses, ja, jag hoppas det. Any European, you just say, potato, potato, and you will connect on a deep, visceral level. Thank you so much for being here. Bye-bye.